4:07 and 4:13 reaction times en route to the victory here in Super Comp.
Terry Cameron there, good friends with Mark Campbell, discussing the run. Top alcohol dragster final. This is the pair of the big dogs we've been waiting for all day long. Bryan Davidchuk out of Edmonton, Alberta, and Steve Sitko out of Edmonton, Alberta. There's a lot of family crossover that I'll describe to you in a second here.
Davidchuk will be in the left-hand lane, and again working on the 4:00 reaction light. His previous best was a 6:41 at 210.18 miles an hour. Sitko in the right lane ran a 6:63, had a great reaction time, and just over 200 miles an hour for his career best, but he's in tough here today.
The Sitko dragster, Steve Sitko at the controls out of Edmonton. The 92 Arctic Sitko chassis, Keith Black power plant comes to life. The brother of Ken Sitko, who happens to be the crew chief and the co-owner of the dragster driven by Bryan Davidchuk in the opposite lane. So you've got all kinds of crossover here. The Sitko family is so involved, this was bound to happen sooner or later.
National record, as we mentioned earlier, 5:79 with a 5 at 244.3 miles an hour. I don't believe that's in jeopardy. We haven't had a 5-second pass on the show yet today. But it'll be interesting to see how Davidchuk does in the left lane. You recall he had some piston problems earlier in the meet and an oil leak he alluded to with John.
Steve's crew chief is his dad, George, and Steve Sitko lights him up for his burnout. Bryan Davidchuk out of Edmonton, and the Arctic chassis with Keith Black in the power plant department does his burnout as well. The Arctic Traveler, this car, by the way, the '85 American Drag Racing Association world champion and NHRA Division 6 runner-up in '89. A lot of impressive wins on the history life of that chassis.
Good crowd looking on here in Calgary. You're looking at about 2,000 horsepower apiece, so when they light them up, this ground is going to shake.
Yeah, 4,000 horsepower combined tends to do that. However, coming up at the tail end of our show here this afternoon, I'm going to show you a top fuel exhibition run. Mike Rainey out of Colorado, and you're talking 5,000. Now they're getting computer readings, but the top fuel cars may be peaking out at about 62 to 6,300 horsepower. But right now, we've got some business to attend to, and that's the top alcohol dragster final. Bryan Davidchuk out of Edmonton and fellow Edmontonian Steve Sitko.
Both drivers having their crew chiefs back them up. It looks like they're right on line with their burnout, Eric, and so they should have great traction. Again, that 4:00 light. Best reaction time of the day so far for Sitko is a 4:64 as they scrub off the rear tires in his machine. Davidchuk with a 5:88.
Credit to Ben Doctor and the entire drag racing crew here, Bruce Weiss and everyone, keeping this track in such immaculate shape. The track has not gone away at all today, and as you say, either lane is good. There's no advantage one from the other. Testament of a good drag racing crew, and you've got it here at Race City.
Well, the temperature has cooled off just a wee bit from the start of our program, but it shouldn't make too much difference in terms of performance and horsepower. Both drivers in the staging area. Let's listen in as they heat them up. Davidchuk with a 4:39 to a 4:86 reaction. He's well out front at the top end.
He made that look rather simple, didn't he? I didn't expect that kind of a final. The crew elated, and more smoke coming out both sides of the engine. I really think he heard something there. Doesn't matter. Bryan Davidchuk out of Edmonton is our champion and top alcohol dragster at Calgary.
Here's the difference off the line. The far lane will get the advantage, pulling the wheels ever so slightly. And we go to the top end, and we'll check it out as they zip through at 211 miles an hour.
Here's John.
As Bryan's crew comes down to join him. Bryan, congratulations. 640, 211 miles an hour.
Well, that's pretty good. That was our best pass of the weekend, and considering how hot it was today, I'm real happy for myself and the crew chief, Ken Sitko, and he just did a great job putting the car together, and I'm real happy for him to get the car down the track like that.
Now, it looks like it's burped a little bit of oil out in the blower drive, nothing serious.
I don't think so. It might have caught with one piston or a couple pistons, but I think we'll be all right. We'll just buy some new stuff and put her in.
So congratulations to Bryan Davidchuk, who wins the top alcohol dragster final here today. Losing time, by the way, for Sitko was a 6:65 at 199.82 miles an hour. But a good run for Davidchuk and company.
And a great final in top alcohol dragster. Now we talked about 2,000 horsepower.